So it's 7 o'clock on Monday, June 19th. This is the time and place for this commission meeting for the city of Tioga. We can start with the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, one nation under God. All right, thank you so much. Well, nice to see a lot of people here today. We will start with the minutes from May 15, 2023 commission meeting, minutes from May 15, 2023 executive session, and June 7, 2023 special meeting. I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second. All right, with the motion and the second to approve the minutes for those dates. No questions, comments, concerns from the board when we move to vote? Yes.
yes.
Yes. All right, so moves. We'll go into the commission reports.
I don't have a lot of work, still doing lead and copper samples. Still trying to schedule the water tower inspection. I hope that might be too much. They can go up to Wheatville Trailer Park, abandon some water and sewer lines with a new park that's gonna be in there. And they're just busy doing maintenance and stuff. I think that's what
Thank you.
I know some things, but we're gonna bring that up in new business.
I have nothing at this moment. Sounds good, thank you. All right, so we do have a couple of modifications to the agenda tonight, Jessica.
I need to add an acceptance of a grant. I also need to add a letter of resignation. And I need to add, on behalf of the fire department, regarding the street signs. Is that sound right?
No, just personal.
Oh,
Okay,
personal.
sorry.
Okay. No.
All right. Any other modifications? Okay. Yeah. Larry, do you have any? No. All right, is there a motion?
I need a motion.
Is there a second? One second. All right, so with the motion and a second for the modification to the agenda, there's no questions, comments, or concerns for the board. When we vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so most. You're gonna have to help me out. It was through this, we wrote them down. I just want to make sure we move forward. All right. No, I just put it down here. I'm sure I got it done. All right, so we'll go with old business. Liz?
Hi, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I'll try to keep my report.
I can
Whoops,
barely-
can you hear me? Well, dang it. Let me try this again. Hold on. Technology, oops, technology only works when it wants to work. Is that a little bit better?
No, we moved you for the previous meeting.
I guess I don't know what that means. Do you guys need me to, do you want to clip along and I'll grab an earbud and see if that helps?
I think it's on our end. It's
Yeah, I can hear Liz totally fine.
Okay, well, I'll keep it double brief then, and I'll try to speak more slowly than average to see if that helps. We have kind of a lengthy agenda. The most significant update that I think I will share at this moment is regarding the status of the oil and gas lease. We are currently still in negotiations. I think it would be fair to suggest that we are quite close So I've spoken with the folks at the brokerage firm, Cadremus, or BJ Cadremus, I apologize. And we've let Aaron know that we should have a conclusion one way or the other by the next meeting in July. I think that's the 3rd of July, or in the alternative, if necessary, we'll call an appropriately notice special meeting to address that if needed. I also wanted to let you all know, well, there are a couple of other projects that are currently in play. I think Josh is likely to raise some of those in his reporting, and since he'll be easier to hear than I will, we'll let that go. There may be other points on the agenda where I would participate if needed. But I think for tonight's purposes and given our technological limitations, I'll leave it with that.
All right, thank you. Josh? It'll be easy with you here. No offense, Liz.
None taken.
Liz, can you say something real quick for me?
Yep, sound check. Any better? Maybe not.
Good evening. Events to report on tonight. There's being South Main Street reconstruction. This may be where they may interject some from what we've been told. The contractors completed the work that they are planning to do themselves on that could work on that project. There were numerous deficiencies with the plan to address the separate project, which terms need to be negotiated between the city and the contractor on that. I don't know, Liz, if you've had any further communication with them after we spoken. What's been Friday, so.
I don't think so, Josh. I think the
Hold
staff,
on, Liz, I can't hear you at all.
We changed it earlier and it's, try now, Liz.
is that better?
Mhm.
Kind of.
Instead of doing the speakers on the TVs, it went to this one from earlier and I don't know how what else we changed. Try it now.
Liz, if I call your cell phone, can I?
No.
Yes, you can. Let me mute so we don't have feedback. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can. I'm good for jumping on. All right, there you go.
Oh, in answer to Josh's question, hold on, I'm gonna step away from my computer, because now I'm echoing from the computer. Hold on. There we go, technologically not, again, will come, I guess. The update is this, is that previously we had, I think we had a tacit understanding or a principled understanding with the folks who were to complete the construction, and there were some deficits there, as we all know. My last communications with council for those folks at this point are unanswered. Josh, per our call, I did lodge an additional call. Summertime is busy. I believe I received an auto reply, so it's my intention, that would have been late last week after we spoke, it's my intention to follow up again this week. Essentially, the situation is developing, of course, but there are repairs that need to be done. We all know that there are a couple of different entities involved. We had rather protracted conferencing, and the engineers have done what they need to do to kind of establish the scope of those repairs. It seems like the engineers generally agree with both parties what needs to be done. The only other update that I think is kind of critical for me to discuss with council and Josh, I imagine you're likely to get to that, is that above and beyond the examinations and evaluations that we did last year after we discovered those defects, some of which are pretty widespread and of course substantial, is that it seems like at this point, there may be further or other degradation or failure that we weren't aware of last summer. And so in addition to trying to nail down a written memorandum of intention that speaks to the discussions that we were earlier all contemplating for repairs and the financial ends of that, we will probably need to supplement, I guess, supplement additional deficit that didn't become apparent to us until this summer. So Josh, if you have anything to add to that, that's where we're at. But to follow our call last week, I attempted to follow up and I think that's probably the result of summer scheduling, but I will be doing so again early this week and hopefully we can memorialize those agreements. If we can't, of course, it's somewhat critical at this point because we have a very short construction season in North Dakota. I will reiterate that again. Josh is doing what he can to try to facilitate that. Really, it's kind of a sticking point between attempting to reach a fixed or estimated expense, which Josh can really only do by bid. And even if we did it, we would expect that there might be some deviation once the work is actually performed. That happens all the time via change order and other matters. But we have to get those agreements memorialized somehow in a written form. And that's kind of where I think we're sticking, is on that last bit.
Okay, yeah, that, you kind of hit the nail on the head. There was, regarding, further trenches that have, appeared, settlement not as drastic or severe as what we saw last spring. But things kind of, seems like every week it's not dramatically worse, but every week when I come out, I drive through the site. Settlement, kind of appearing, week to week. So, it's just something we have to make sure it's covered, as we move into developing the project to correct any deficiencies. Any questions related to that project?
Yeah, we will probably look at that next year.
It's getting every day, it's on top of it.
Yeah, which for them, they still haven't signed off on that project. It's still got a year after we sign off.
Okay. Next item, excuse me, Northeast Construction, or Northeast Highway Construction Phase 2. The latest schedule we have received is included in the packet. June 5th. Lagging behind that. Off the slow start. They did start last Thursday with some of the sanitary sewer installation. I have requested updated schedule from the contractor on that project. For the next meeting. So, pressing on them as much as we can to keep them moving as significantly behind.
What I was gonna ask you, you say they're significantly behind, how far are we behind this time?
Well, I'm saying significantly behind from contractual completion.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
That was end of November.
Right.
Behind this schedule, we're probably a week and a half, 2 weeks. Lagging behind this schedule, somewhere in that ballpark.
You did have 2 guys. site.
Yeah, they have their strategy, underground, Tioga subcontractor. Was here, last week and got some things started. with, crucial, this morning to start some surfacing work, driving.
I know that we had a meeting, right, that was when it was starting, three of us. And with Strata, and did they get those issues that we discussed in that meeting kind of resolved with employees, with staffing? Or are they still significant on staffing?
I don't know. Which meeting?
And it was so loud.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't heard any communication. Yeah, I haven't heard about the, bringing them.
But one encouraging thing is the subcontractor they got is, seems to be doing pretty good work. Past and back, so yes, from.
Good. Perfect, thank you.
Okay, next item is the Tioga Dam emergency action plan and safety improvements project. The emergency action plan cost share agreement has been executed for that component of that. So we're getting started on work for that portion. The hydraulic modeling of the dam for the safety improvements component of it, of the existing condition is complete. Through that modeling, we did determine that the dam does not meet the current design standards for hydraulic components. So essentially what it is somewhat high level, a 50-year storm event can't engage the spillway, which under current conditions does. The standards have changed over the years, and of course, rainfall data that is currently called. So that's that all factors. So from that, from this evaluation, we come up with recommendations or options to bring in the components. So we're currently trying to evaluate and develop some scenarios for that, so that we can bring that to the city to discuss which options consider. One of the options that we're going to be looking at is lowering the normal pool level of it, which I don't think that's going to be option the city wants. If we want to keep water in the dam for recreational opportunity. But that is a potential option. We don't know exactly 6 inches. 5 inches. We're evaluating that. I'll come with some options to discuss. And with that, I guess I would look to probably just set up a meeting. I don't know if I'm going to volunteer or be voluntold to attend that and bring it in. Kind of dive into that and maybe the commission at council or at set.
Is that something you want decided tonight?
If possible,
It might be easier, Jessica and I are already on. Talking about part of it.
yeah, they're so tight, I think it. Speaking of the trail project, preliminary layout for that is included in packet there, so the blue highlighted area is what was designated wetland. Unless we have to, obviously the water body itself, some of the things areas included in that. So the path routing was kind of based upon that. And we held a meeting June 6th. Down Chelsea, and discussed some of the items on it. Nothing extremely major came out of it, but few components that we like to address as we move further through the design. Related to that, once we heard kind of the results on the hydraulic modeling, we kind of put pause on that a little bit because depending on what decisions. So capacity of hydraulic evaluation. So that have to shift to shift locations and so on like that. So push pause on that one, hopefully briefly. To kind of discuss what impacts so trail and that. We stand with that project. Any questions? Next item is the 2023 sewer, water, and street reconstruction project, 3rd Street Northwest, Hanson Street. The initial construction schedule for that project is included in the packet. They were looking at likely getting in town the week of June 26th. There. Completion right around first week of October. Some of these cleanup items. Mobile and road control. No major concerns with that schedule. See some activity starting on that project.
I think it's time to say, yeah. Great.
There we go. That's better. Thank you, Larry.
I was having a little trouble hearing you. Thought my hearing aids were going out on me.
Related to that project, also we did hold the pre-construction meeting on May 31st. No major outcomes from that other than just going through the general scope of the project and project requirements. So, on that topic, the cost share agreement for the water component of that, we did have, and I received the agreement from the State Water Commission for those funds and email this morning. If you have those for signature, they do in their email, they do suggest having the city attorney review that if you choose. As you can imagine, the terms are pretty similar, if not going back to the previous past two agreements for the dam safety improvements and emergency action through that same program. So.
Yeah, this is one of the things that we added to the
Okay.
agenda, so we'll take care of it.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Last item on that project is engineering amendment for construction engineering services. For that permanent construction. For approval of that item. I do have hard copies. Up there for signature.
Is there a motion?
I have not sent it to her.
If she
You
has.
want to do it?
Just so I know, is that. Is that substantially the same, form of engineering agreement that you routinely use, just so I have a heads up?
Yes, yeah, it's the amendment for amendment to the existing task order for that project. So same
Okay.
same format and yeah, generally the same, other than just defining for this project, So
And why
does it
change so much?
what was that?
Why does it change so much? The amendment for 333?
So this is for the services during construction. The initial agreement is to design, and then this would be for construction engineering, contract administration, construction statement, and RPR services.
I'd make a motion to approve.
Right, with the contingency that Liz approved it.
Yes, absolutely.
I'll second.
All right, with a motion and a second, no questions, comments, or concerns from the board, we'll move to vote on that. So Larry, are you still reviewing? Are you still reviewing it, or you? Okay,
Yes.
Yes.
all right, so moved.
Okay, next item then is the KS Industries Water and Sewer Extension. There's no major updates on that project at this point. There's working through getting a contractor on board to perform that work. So more updates that come on out in the next couple or few meetings. Next item then is Pine Ridge subdivision, roadway improvements. I handed out the current plan set for the project. They are basically completely just going through our final internal review of the design on that project. So they would be ready for approval this evening. I believe that is part of the new business related to the special assessment process for that project. Couple items on that that will need to be decided are the bid date, of course, completion dates, and a few other items. And it may be worth talking with the developer on that to kind of see where he's at in comparison to the city, sole property owner. But maybe a value to set up a quick call, talk through that with them with the city on kind of what expectations everyone has with that construction of that project. So with that, I think that's really all I have on that project. If there are any questions? Okay. Tioga soccer field, design floodway modeling. That project we're still waiting on state review, related to the floodway component of that project. Trying to think of what the date was that it was submitted, but I believe they were talking about somewhere in that 30-day turnaround. This one's probably a little more, laborious for their review, so it may take a little longer than that. But, we'll hopefully have further updates on that next meeting. SCADA system expansion. Been kind of talking this one over the last couple meetings or so. We did hold a meeting last week with Jeff to kind of finalize some of the details related to what needs there are there, so we can provide further recommendations to the commission on options to consider for expansion of that system. Other infrastructure components on so expect the next meeting to have finalized scope of work for that and costs that will be associated with that project. Drainage issues. This item were brought up, I believe, at the last meeting. Couple areas that there were some concerns this spring, early summer. The first 6th to 7th Street northwest and on the southwest corner of town. Basically some poor ditch drainage in that area and causing some roadway failure. South Dakota Street is north of 67th there. And the other location Kirk and I reviewed was South Gilbertson Street, culvert crossing there. Talking with him, it didn't sound like there was really any concern of conveyance there necessarily, but the roadway is showing some signs of failure or creeping. And they've done some patching on it with gravel, which is a gravel roadway section. There's asphalt, but the road is kind of sunken in a couple areas. It appears that it's most likely related to some of the smaller culverts. There's 3 culverts there. One that's probably a 4-foot diameter culvert, and then a couple 20-inch culverts or so paired with that. So it appears those are kind of what the root problem is. So we'll be kind of evaluating that a little further on what options there are. It's somewhat complicated floodway in that area. So we'll have to kind of see what options there are to proceed with that. Since there's no conveyance concerns, that create some efficiencies of not having to deal too heavily with the flow component of it. So with that, that's all I have. Is there anything else? Thank you. All right, Chelsea, let's see if we can hear you.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, please.
Okay, you're on speaker.
I am down in Bismarck right now at state training. I'm not there in person. It's been pretty great. Started today, and it goes the next 2 days. I will be back in the office on Thursday. As everyone, as the commissioners have kind of, I've got kind of a long list of things for an update. It's been a little bit since I've been able to meet with you guys. First thing is on our marketing classes that we have been doing. Those have been really well received from a lot of businesses in town. We've had a lot of repeat businesses that have come to classes over the last few months, and a lot of new ones recently as well. We finished up our AI class, which had really great reviews from businesses in town. That one was our May class. Our June class was on Canva and graphic design. Our last class was on June 15th. Students really liked the ease of the software that we were showing and highlighting. And looking forward to see how they put that into action moving forward. Our next two classes that we have scheduled are scheduled for July 5th and 25th, and they're going to be focusing on how to create a promotional calendar for your business. So continuing on building off of all of the stuff that we've kind of built all the little building blocks. Now we're going to put it all together into a comprehensive plan. I did meet with Abby and the rate auditor as well with the rural USDA to kind of learn a little bit more about their loans and grants programs. Just want to highlight a couple of them. The first one that I want to highlight is one that is focusing on renewable energy. This is available to businesses in Tioga if they're wanting to upgrade windows, doors, lights, heating, insulation. It's a grant program with up to $40,000 available. Ag producers are using this to buy new grain dryers. So if you're updating grain bin dryers, that program is available. Applications for that. The windows are June 30th, September 30th, December 31st, and then next year, March 31st, June 30th, and September 30th. So we've been kind of passing out some flyers to businesses in town that have some buildings that are older and needing some updates. But I also wrote an article about that in the article that came out, I believe later last week. There is another rural development loan or grant that for homes that were impacted by the storms of 2022. So it is a repair loan. There's two different ones you compare together. There's a loan and a grant program. This last week, I helped fill out a grant form for an individual here in Tioga who is going to be getting her roof replaced. She has the opportunity to get $40,000 with this grant to help those repairs. Commissioner Christensen asked me to look into the homestead tax credit update. There's a few changes that happened to that this year. The biggest thing that happened with that is they've gotten rid of the $500 asset. So it opens up a lot more people to be able to apply for this. You do have to submit an application yearly. If you already applied for the credit this year, your application are going to be adjusted to reflect the new percentages as well. We just recently met with the Community Land Trust with Grand Forks, myself, Abby, Williams County, and the rate auditor, just looking to see if this would be something that could work for the 55 and older housing project that the city is kind of looking into. I've also been doing some research on the HOAs to really see which ones would be the best for providing affordable housing long term, not just for the first time purchaser. In May 18th, we held Vision West in Tioga. That was a really great success. We had 35 attendees from across the western side of the state. We had an update from the Petroleum Council, North Dakota DOT, and then Kathy Nesset also gave us an energy update for Western North Dakota. Some of the meetings that I have had the last couple months have been the Smart City webinars, which have been really great, interesting to see some of the tech that they've been using in some of the larger cities and seeing how we can harness that those technologies here in Tioga. The county has paid for a quality of life study. So we met with the team from Minneapolis, myself, Dan, Abby, Haley from the community center, kind of walked through town, talked about, you know, the pros and cons of what's going on. And it's, we're excited to see what comes from that study. So that's done at the county level, but we'll get information back from that as well. Dan and I also last week met with an individual who's interested in pursuing a Veterans Memorial Garden here in Tioga. It sounds like the project is in a very infant stage of concept, but it was good to be kind of looped in to see what their vision is and how the city can hopefully support that as it moves forward. Been doing a lot of webinars and trainings recently. Recently, one of the good ones that I really liked, or one of the ones I'd like to highlight for you was the resident recruitment to rural America that I did. That I attended, I weeks ago, and it was really interesting. Right now, as I said, I'm down in Bismarck for the economic development of North Dakota State training. So I'll be here until Wednesday. Coming up next week on June 27th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. The Western Regional Economic Development is hosting a free community barbecue in Tioga. So that's the only one that they're holding in Lakes County is in Tioga this year. It'll be at the pool or at the pavilion next to the pool. So really hope that everyone can come out and attend the barbecue. And it's from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Walker City just had theirs a couple weeks ago, and they had about 350 and 400 people that attended their barbecue. Any questions on anything?
So. Thank you.
Thanks, Chelsea.
All right, so we'll move into new business. We'll start with the Tioga Tribune.
I'm Cecile Berman. I'm a publisher of the Tioga Tribune. I'm really just here in an advisory capacity to let you know about some changes that are happening with the newspaper, and I'm hoping that the community might get involved in some capacity. Obviously not necessarily the city commission, but I want you to be aware of it. I've been hired as the executive director of the North Dakota Newspaper Association, which means I'll be moving to Bismarck.
Congratulations.
Thank you. While that's exciting, and I do believe that I can continue to run the journal from afar, it would be impossible for me to manage the Tioga Tribune too. As well, you might have read in my column last week that Jacob Orlich has given notice, and in fact, his last night working for us is tonight at the school board meeting across town. So Jacob is leaving North Dakota, and we've been advertising for a writer for 6 weeks. Not a single application, both nationally and locally. So that puts us in a really, really bad bind. And the dearth of writers across the state, if you're aware, I mean, every newspaper that has an opening has problems filling them. Writers are hard to come by. So what our plan is in the interim is to have Crosby staff cover Tioga because we don't have any other option. And so my husband, Brad Nygaard, who normally reports for Crosby, will be mostly covering Tioga. But that is a limited scope because by the end of the summer, I hope that we're both in Bismarck. So we're trying to find a buyer for the Tioga Tribune, and I want the community to know that, you know, local people would be welcome to consider taking over, and I think in a lot of ways that would benefit the community. I've often said that, you know, what Tioga needs is a resident publisher, but that's just never been something that's come forward. So our intention is that by August 30th, we will no longer be publishing the paper. Like I say, I hope we can find a buyer. And why that's important to the city to know is because that impacts your legal notice publication requirements. You have to publish in a paper in the county that is recognized as a legal publication outlet. And the only one that I'm aware of is the Williston Tribune. There are some other publications serving the area, but they're either online or they don't meet the criteria to be a legal, be a paper that can receive legal notices. So publishing in the Herald isn't going to cost you more necessarily. The cost is going to be in the fact that probably very few people subscribe to the Williston Herald because they don't really cover Tioga. So there's not a lot of interest there. And of course, that cuts down on your effectiveness in communicating with your citizens. So that's the most important reason to keep the Tioga Tribune intact. Because that legal status for public notices could be lost if the paper lapses publication for just 1 week. After 1 week, it's tied to a postal permit, and that postal permit is kind of the mechanism that allows you to qualify to publish public notices. So if that lapses for more than a week, then someone has to start all over again, whether it's a new Tioga Tribune or some other publication. They have to meet that postal regulation for sending out papers for a year before they can accept legal notices for publication. So as part of the business, the city of Ray, the city of Tioga, the city of Wild Rose, 2 school boards, all publish their minutes and their notices in the Tioga Tribune. So that would be a huge loss to the community. And really impact communications. And reinstating the postal permit or qualifying for a new one, like I said, takes another year of continuous delivery by mail. The Tribune also has pre-sold annual advertising that is scheduled to run now through next April. And so that's an opportunity for someone that would come in to make that money. They would have the ability to publish at the same plant where we publish in Minot. All of the subscription records and all of the sales history, the software and the equipment, along with the ability to continue placing legal notices. So I'm just wanting to put the community on notice that, we're happy to talk about our financials with any serious inquiry, but in general, the Tribune is a break-even proposition. It doesn't turn a great profit, but I have no doubt that a local owner could really turn that around because people want to support other people who live in the community. We would also have the ability to offer contract sports coverage to a new publisher. That would be at a cost the business income currently handles just fine. That's how it's arranged now, if that's something that was desired. So in short, it's a great opportunity for someone at an exceedingly low cost. I don't want to get into the particulars in a public meeting, but basically for the cost of a fancy pickup, this community could take control of its Tioga Tribune and be under new local control. In recent weeks, we have had inquiries or had some interest expressed by a couple of local entities that have not made an offer and don't appear to be ready to make an offer. We're also have an inquiry through a national broker of someone who could make an offer, but that could happen tomorrow or never. At this point, I don't know. I've also notified the EDC of this opportunity, and I would hope that their group would talk about, is it a nonprofit? Is there an individual that might like to get into business? I've also, I did attempt to contact Chelsea, but I didn't hear from her, so I don't know if that email went awry or what. But happy to work with your staff and anybody that would want to talk about that. So in closing, I just hope that community can come together and hopefully find a solution so that the Tioga Tribune can continue to serve the community for decades to come.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, next agenda item is going to do department limit. I'm asking that, I think our current department head, our department limit is $1,000 before they have to come to commission to seek permission to do something. What I'm asking is that it just makes sense with inflation and the cost of doing business that we raise that to $1,500. We can't even get it. Every time we need maintenance done to a vehicle, anything like that, tires, whatever, they have to come here. Trying to alleviate some of that. Right. So trying to alleviate that. So I'm asking if the commission could consider raising it to a $1,500 limit for purchase.
I'll make a motion
To approve or deny?
to approve.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. With the motion and the second to raise it, if there isn't any questions, comments, or concerns from the board, we'll move to vote.
Yes.
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 All right, so moves. Next item is going to be renewal of liquor licenses.
Renewal applications from, Model Tavern for on and off sales, BJ's Lounge for on and off sales, Come and Go for off sale, Farmers Union, Pinnacle for off sale. Cashwise Liquor Store for off sale. Tioga Hotel Suites for on sale. Four Decisions Bar and Steakhouse for on and off sale. Chico Taco Shop for on sale. And Jeb's Thai Kitchen for on sale. Seeking permission for approval. I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right, with the motion and a second to approve, no questions, comments, or concerns from the board, we'll move to vote.
Yes.
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 All right, so moves. Next item is going to be gaming site authorization applications.
I have, two gaming site, actually three gaming site, applications. One is from American Legion for a model tavern. And the next one is, from Prairie Public for, DJ's Lounge and Four Decisions. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, with the motion and a second to approve, no questions, comments, or concerns from the board, we'll move to vote.
Yes.
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 All right, so moves. Next is going to be special liquor licenses. The license.
Special liquor license from, Model Tavern for, July 1st street dance. And, everything in order. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, with the motion and a second to approve the special liquor license, no questions, comments, or concerns from the board, we'll move to vote.
Yes.
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 All right, an estimate from Johnson Controls.
So when Johnson Controls came out, they found some deficiencies, for, some of our fire extinguishers that are up on the ceiling, and so they need to fix them. And the estimate for the PD community center in this building, $6,220.90. It's not something that they'll be doing all the time. It's just that we need like 4 years without checking the building. So they're just, fixing and replacing some of the parts that are no longer working.
All right, that's $6,000 each for all three buildings.
Wow.
Okay. For motion?
Yeah, there's, if you look back, there's another one there, there's, yeah. Because it's not anything that we. The museum is part of the city. Okay, so it's all of it, yeah.
Fire block and. Okay, I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Right, with, motion and a second to approve, no question, comments, or concerns from the board, we'll move to vote.
Yes.
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 All right, so moves. Next is the estimates for the acoustics at the community center.
There's an estimate for the acoustics. Some of our panels got damaged from the storms, the water came out over on the brace joints on the south side of the building. And so we have an estimate to replace those. They won't be placed there again, just in case it happens again. We hope it doesn't, but they're gonna be used, so we won't be there, right in those areas. For the big part, so the estimate, for that is $2,688. And are you guys gonna remove?
Looks terrible.
All right, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
With a motion and a second to approve, no questions, comments, or concerns from the board, we'll move to vote.
Yes.
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 All right, so next is going to be Ms. Vincent. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Rachel Vincent. I've been trying to work with Dan with the city of Tioga, trying to get, the abate, I guess, my property cleaned up. And it's been hard to do that without any water. So at this point in time, I'm asking the city, can we put my water main back in? So that I can get, water, so I can finish painting and cleaning up the property.
I know that there was some issues with the property. Have those been resolved with the water section of the?
Yes.
Property? That's been
Yes.
resolved. Has it been verified by Dan or anybody?
What do you mean?
Has Dan come over to verify that that work has been done and that if we turn on the water, we're not gonna have the same issue that we did before?
Oh, yes, my neighbor too.
Very well.
Yeah.
Dan, do you have anything? Hold on.
Go ahead, Kevin, I'm sorry.
All right, Dan.
MDU needs to come in and hook up the power, put the meter on, and turn the gas back on. Building code and everything that goes along with that. The electrical system, the panel was flooded. That was downstairs in the basement. That has to be verified, examined, and repaired, and state inspected before there can be any electrical hookup, and that is MDU's policy. So whenever there's a flood, all that stuff has to be verified. So it's going to leave any liability on and danger to the homeowner and city and whatever. Okay, so that has to be done. Liz, did you have something?
Yes, sorry, I'm trying to figure out which one to unmute here. I guess my question is, there's kind of a duplicate issue, I think, but maybe I'm in error. Ms. Vincent called my office several weeks ago and he suggested that she appear at the meeting, and I appreciate her doing that. The question that Ms. Vincent posed to me didn't relate to electrical service, although I completely understand what Dan's saying and agree with the assessment. That's something that Ms. Vincent will have to work out with MDU. But I guess my question is the same as yours, Commission President. I don't know that I'm clear whether or not there was any inspection or documentation pertaining to the water service within the home, not the electrical service, but the water service. I still don't think, after hearing from Dan and Ms. Vincent, that I have a clear answer there. And that's, one of two issues that I think the commission should be kept informed of if we're going to be receiving these requests in order to try to resolve that issue.
Dan, do you have a response to that? Have you checked it, Dan? I know that for the water portion, I don't know if anybody from the water department has gone in there.
The water department, Jeff, or the department has not, as to my knowledge, has gone in to test, where the leak was at.
Okay.
Or anything like that. To my knowledge, that hasn't been happened, but I don't know.
And certainly Ms. Vincent can and should hire her own plumber. I mean, it's my understanding that the initial assessment was that the leak was certainly not on the city side. Ms. Vincent indicated she believed it was a main leak. I'm aware that that's.
No, that's not what
But
the water main. I'm sorry, the water main was leaking, as well as Dennis Henderson. My neighbor said that when the water mains were shut off, his basement quit leaking as well. That's exactly what he stated. Dennis Henderson, my neighbor sheriff. I was gonna get him to come down here, but he's got bad knees.
So when your house was no longer flooding,
It was a little bit in the basement, so I automatically, because I went away and I was going out of state for treatment for alcohol. And so when I went out of state, I had made sure, because I had gotten a notice from Dan that there was water on the city street. And so I called MDU right away to have it shut off, so I didn't get my house burnt down and nobody else's in the back.
there, and if the commission has a different position, that's fine, but I can understand why folks don't want to let city people into their house for all kinds of tasks, or government people in general. That's well within their rights. I guess what I'm saying is that if there's an issue with the plumbing there, and that's not an option that's available or one that Ms. Vincent wants to use, I would strongly encourage her to have a licensed plumber come in and have a look at that and give some form of written report of the documentation or assessment or repair. That's all that I'm saying, because Obviously, the commission can't change its position, or well, is unlikely to, I shouldn't say can't, but is unlikely to do that until the conditions have changed to prompt that kind of decision. That's all I was trying to share, and I appreciate the clarification.
I totally understand that, but what I'm trying to state is that my attorney told me that that was completely illegal without the city giving me notification, but any bill or anything else, my property is completely fine. So if you guys don't want to approve it, I'll just get my attorney to take care of it. And I'll leave it at that,
Is there,
because it's illegal.
What was leaking in your basement?
There was nothing leaking at all. There was water in my basement when I went there. And Dennis is as well. And as soon as the city curb stops got turned off, the leaking quit.
It's to my knowledge that your neighbor's house was leaking because your basement was flooded, causing the ground to saturate and run into his house.
No, that's not what he stated. He said the minute the curb stop was shut off over there, he said that it wasn't leaking anymore.
Because it stopped the flooding of your basement.
No. There was never any flood. I don't know. But Dennis, yeah, I know, there's two separate curb stops. Yeah.
Well, if there's a leak, it would still be.
But there wasn't any leak out. When I came there was water in there, but there was no leak after that. I came back 2 days and then 2 times. To make sure. It cost me $170 each trip for the taxi.
And from what I understand, there was a lot of water.
is there a way that you can get with NDU and get all that other stuff resolved at the same time? And
I'm not getting any electricity turned on at all whatsoever until it's getting complete. I'm getting the house completely rewired. But I need, at this point in time, I need the water turned on so I can get painting done and clean up from that. Because I had a new mast and everything else put in, years ago, but I'm not gonna trust, that it's not gonna cause a fire. But I need water at least to clean up the paint, stuff like that.
I think we're gonna have to try to get some sort of letter to us so that we know there's no danger of flooding properties again. Or we can.
But that's illegal.
Well, I would think we would need some kind of verification that there won't be flooding.
But how can you have verification if you won't put my water main back in there to see? See what I'm saying? So it kind of hurts yourself.
Well, if you get a plumber, they'll be able to tell you if your water is ready to go.
Right.
But how can I be expected to hire a plumber to do all this stuff and all this other stuff, just asking for city to comply with giving me my water when I haven't done anything wrong?
Sorry. This hasn't been a homework.
But it's not legal for you guys to do that.
Well, I think we should ask our city attorney.
So I think the situation here and I'll share with Ms. Vincent that certainly if it weren't posing a threat to adjacent properties and it weren't significant, and if you had a leak in your basement, the possibility is that the city would never become involved. So I wouldn't say that it's illegal, so to speak, but what developed here was a nuisance. And so as a result of that nuisance, because of the overage of water and because of flooding of adjacent properties and flooding into the city streets, it was a nuisance and we had an emergency action. As far as we know, at the moment, based on the documentation we've not received, those conditions haven't changed since the commission last made that assessment. But if Ms. Vincent has the property reviewed, and NDU gets their ducks in a row and says, hey, it's safe on our side, we don't control electricity, that's fine, and that's NDU's call. And if Ms. Vincent gets a plumber in there and the plumber says, hey, whatever we caused this catastrophic flooding in the basement, which affected the neighbor's adjacent property, that's no longer an issue, then I would say it would be appropriate, of course, for the city to hear Ms. Vincent and consider those new conditions. It's because of the nature of what happened and because of the level of its ability to affect other adjacent properties that this happened. So I sympathize with Ms. Vincent. I know that's a very frustrating situation. It's not illegal for the commission to abate a nuisance and require that a nuisance be corrected so it doesn't continue to be a nuisance moving forward.
Having a water meter is not creating a nuisance. And it's not been proven that my property was a nuisance, ma'am. It was just removed. I came back here twice, and I'm telling you what my attorney stated. So at this point, that's the issue right here. That's the legality of it.
Okay, have your attorney contact our attorney then.
So you guys are gonna make a decision?
I think we need to know where that leak came from.
Well, I would like to understand where the leak came from too.
Whether it was in the house or the city.
I would like to understand where it came from too. If, you know, if it was from that end, I can't tell because I don't have a water meter. I don't even have water in there. You see what I'm saying? So how can we tell if it's from the city corner or where it's from? How can we tell where it's coming from? If it's coming from,
You have to turn the water on to find out. where it-
exactly. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. You can't get a plumber in there.
Flooding again.
Exactly, but I can't get a plumber in there to fix anything if you guys won't turn the water on.
Fix issues without water on. They can check.
All the way through to your city line.
I would suggest remove your house.
They can't.
If they don't find anything in there, then
With no water, they cannot fix anything. They cannot get anything. And all that's true.
Well, when a plumber comes,
If you have the name of a plumber that needs to make contact with the water department or Dan, again, the city tries to be helpful. And if that's something that a plumber represents to the city, an arrangement needs to be made in order to assess what's going on there. I'm sure that we can work with a plumber, but we can't just willy-nilly reverse the decision that the commission last made because conditions haven't changed. I understand what you're saying. So if you find a plumber, put them in touch with the city and we'll find.
I don't have to find a plumber to put them in touch with the city to get my water connected. You guys not providing me a bill, you're not providing me anything other than taking what substance I need for basic survival and cleanup. And then you're trying to abate me and say that I'm a nuisance and creating a nuisance for this, with this property, but yet you're not allowing me to do so and clean it up. So how is that in regards to the city? See what I'm saying? And how can a plumber come in there and inspect for anything when there's no way for to even get water in there?
we do have a plumber come in and let us know that he's gonna be checking, we can turn the water on to see where it's coming from.
Well, why can't Dan do that?
Pardon?
You said somebody from the city, why can't Dan do that?
that's not your plumber.
Well, that's not my plumber, but Dan's the one that gave me the abate. You guys are the one that gave me the abate. So why can't Dan come in and inspect it to make sure there's no issue?
I don't think Dan's a licensed plumber, are you?
Well, I'm, you know what, it's my house and I'm allowed to have water in there. I'm allowed to say whether or not there's people who can come in there. I can do wiring and my own plumbing because I own the house. It's not rented.
Thank you, Ms. Vincent. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do. For you.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, next up is going to be the title fund application.
Tioga Fund Advisory.
All right, do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All right, with a motion and a second, if there's no questions, comments, or from the board, we'll move the vote.
Yes.
Yes. So moved. All right, next is going to be resolution 2023-09, confirming appointment of the special assessment committee.
Be it resolved by the city commission of the city of Tioga, Williams County, North Dakota, a resolution establishing a special assessment commission and appointing individuals thereto. Be it resolved by the governing body of the city of Tioga, North Dakota, as following. The governing body of the city of Tioga does hereby establish in accordance with North Dakota Century Code 40-23-01, a special assessment commission. The following residents and people of the municipality are hereby appointed to the special assessment commission. Madam Buggy, term beginning 05/2023 and April 2025. Scott Roche, term beginning 05/2023 and April 2026. And Veronica Peterson, term beginning May 2023 and April 2026.
Motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right, with the motion and the second to approve. No questions, comments, concerns from the board, will the vote?
Yes.
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 All right, so moves. Next is gonna be resolution 2023-10. Receiving plans, specifications for mileage.
Resolution 2023-10, be it resolved by the city commission of the city of Tioga, Williams County, North Dakota, a resolution receiving your plans, specification, and estimates for Pine Ridge subdivision and improvements district number 2023-01, whereas a resolution receiving the engineer plan report as to the nature, purpose, and feasibility of the proposed improvement, an estimate as to the probable cause of work for Pine Ridge subdivision improvement district 2023-01, whereas the engineer report as to the general nature, purpose, and feasibility of Pine Ridge subdivision improvement district number 2023-01, and the estimate of the probable cause of such work hereby be approved in order to be placed on file in the office of the city auditor, where it shall remain on file subject to inspection by anyone.
The motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right, with the motion and second to approve. No questions, comments, concerns from the board, will the vote?
Yes.
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 All right, next is resolution 2023-11. Approval of ordering advertisement for construction bid for Pine Ridge.
Resolution 2023-11, be it resolved by the city commission of the city of Tioga, Williams County, North Dakota, a resolution ordering the advertisement for the construction bid of the Pine Ridge subdivision improvement district number 2023-01, be it resolved by the city commission of the city of Tioga, Williams County, North Dakota, the governing body of the city commission orders the advertisement for construction bids for Pine Ridge subdivision improvement district 2023. That is the role.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, with the motion and second to approve. No questions, comments, concerns from the board, will the vote?
Yes.
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 All right, next is the letter of interest for library board.
So there's a letter of interest. It says, hello, I am interested in the open library trustee position. I was born in Tioga. I moved back April 3rd. My grandparents lived there their whole life. I am projected to be here for 2 years, possibly much longer. It all depends on work. I just wanted to be involved and contribute. From Bobby Thunderson. I make a motion.
I'll second.
All right, with a motion and a second to approve. No questions, comments, concerns from the board, will the vote?
Yes.
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 All right, so moves. Next is going to be stop sign request. Hello.
Yeah, I'm Jimmy Odegaard. Long time resident, first time caller. I live on the corner of South Dakota Street and Fifth Street. There is a yield sign at that intersection already. We were just wondering if
there could be a way we could get that, maybe a four-way stop, just because I'm just as guilty as anybody else, but you know, no cop, no stop. Kind of deal that goes on. People tend to go to that.
When there's cops, everybody stops.
Right, and I know where you live now, so I know where to stop. But, those yield signs, there is some dips in the road, they do kind of slow down, but we have caught some cars just kind of blazing through there. So they're on Fifth Street, South Dakota Street, Sixth Street especially, and then Seventh Street that you probably remember. There's loads and loads of kids, you know, like south of town is like that kind of booming area now. We have a new place there that no one's used to yet. They have a place across the road that no one's used to yet. So you're used always looking one direction every time you go through that street. They're not used to it. Now, my kid, you know, on the other side of the street, pop up, look out for them. And I know it's kind of a boring subject compared to what you guys are used to probably, but just a stop
I
sign,
like
like
stop signs.
a four-way stop, maybe, you know, and also it does get approved, that I'd like to, you know, that me personally and my family, we wouldn't mind some lenience if you do catch people run it the first couple of times, because remember Main Street.
Oh, I thought you were asking for leniency for
No,
yourself.
no.
That is not how this.
So I think I myself to it too, because I'll probably run it as well now, but, just because I do remember how like we're creatures of habit, so like I do know there's gonna be, you know, a learning curve that does pass, but at the same time, in the future, I think it would be safer just because like I said, there's a lot of new development, there's other house on this, there's Sixth Street being built, and there's just more and more kids on that side of town. And if you guys move forward on a possible park,
It's right behind your house, man.
possible, you know, maybe that would be a four-way stop, just might be a better.
You're still in my thunder, because I was gonna use that as my reason to do it, so.
Oh.
Just,
Parking's going in.
okay,
When?
It's being worked on.
all right, do you have any other?
It'd be South Dakota and Pitt.
Not to mention it generate revenue for the city. How's that? For tickets.
Yeah, well, you might.
All right, so before we ask or open it up for other questions. That's one of my big thing is if we're gonna be putting the park in there, might as well take advantage of the opportunity now. And get people prepared, because once we have kids down there, there's gonna be crosswalks, there's gonna be stuff that we're gonna be putting in. We might as well get the community ready for that now. So we don't have the incident when we have children walking around down there. So I would ask that the board move to say yes, but is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to make that a four-way stop. There are a lot of children down there already.
I'll second it.
All right, with the motion in a second, no questions, comments, concerns from the board, moving to vote.
Yes.
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 All right, so moves, if we can get, I know that there's another stop sign that still needs to be. Put up.
Yes, it does. I think it was 2 years ago.
So, we could get, maybe a both of these up. So. All right, anything else?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, next.
We're running that stop sign.
7. Oh, can we get a fifth one so I can hang the fifth one in my garage?
I'm gonna have them watching you.
Yeah, you always did.
All right, next is gonna be the grant application that launched out earlier. There a motion to accept the approval?
Last reading. The grant will receive as $4,492,000. That's awesome. I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, with the motion and second to approve, no questions, comments, concerns from the board, we vote.
Yes.
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 All right, so moves. Next is going, I believe it's gonna be a letter of resignation.
Today we received it says to the city of Tioga and the Tioga Commission. I, Sergeant Eric Romero, effective June 19th, 2023, will be resigning from the Tioga Police Department. I wish to thank all the citizens of Tioga, North Dakota for 4 years of your welcoming hospitality. I wish you all the best, and as always, stay safe. Until I see you all again, best of luck. Eric Romero.
That's a super hard one.
That's tough.
All right. The voluntary resignation. So, is there any questions or concerns from the board? If not, can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right, with the motion and a second to accept the resignation, no questions, comments, concerns, we'll vote.
Yes,
Yes.
All right, so
did want to say that we do appreciate Eric's time of service, and he was a very good friend, and he was very good for the city.
absolutely, I agree. Is there,
I do have something to go with that. With that resolution, we probably need to get people to advertise it.
yes, so we will,
I would make a motion to.
I'll second.
all right, no questions, comments, concerns from the board, we'll move to vote.
Yes.
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 All right, so moves.
I apologize, I need to go back to the resolution. Contact staff that will find the best possible one for my page.
All right, so that was for resolution 2023-10 for the receiving of plans and specifications for Senate. Okay. Need that.
Loan officer.
Okay. I make a motion.
I'll second.
All right, with the motion and a second to approve. No questions, comments, concerns from the board, we'll move to vote.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so moves. I don't think that there was anything else under the modification that I missed. Okay, all right, we'll go to consent approval.
Make a motion to approve. I'll second.
All right, with a motion and a second to approve consent approval. Questions, comments, concerns from the board, we'll vote.
Yes.
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 All right, so moves. And that looks like it's everything for tonight's meeting. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
I'm sorry, what was that? Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
No questions, comments, concerns from the board, who to vote for adjournment?
Yes.
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 All right, meeting adjourned at 2023.